Hello everyone and welcome to a great game from round 1 of this year's FIDE World Cup. I was going over the games and I was looking for one to really dazzle you guys. This one is very special as it features a move simply both of the Grandmasters missed. It's not an easy move to find and you guys will have a really hard time spotting this one, but I thought it would make a great pause the video moment, and it really makes you think outside of the box to figure out this one. So Indian Grandmaster Harsha Bharatakoti versus Canadian Grandmaster Levan Pansulaya. We've covered a lot of games by Harsha Bharatakoti, but I think we've only covered one by Levan. It was few years ago. He defeated Magnus Carlsen. Can't really remember where. Could be the World Rapid Championship or something like that. But obviously, definitely a strong player. Now, that being said, let's check it out. We have pawn to d4 by Harsha Bharatakoti, and now pawn to g6. 11 goes for the modern defense. We've discussed it a few days ago when Fischer was playing against the creator of the modern defense. You, of course, know who that is. Pawn to c4, we have bishop to g7, and now pawn to e4. We have pawn to d6, the standard setup of the modern defense, and now knight to c3. We have c5, and now pawn to d5. Attacking the pterodactyl defense with the sort of the Benoni gambit, trying to get black to capture on c3, and it's not the most common move you will see here. There are many moves that can be played here, like you go a6, b5, e6, knight to f6, like all of these are very natural moves, knight to d7, but bishop captures on c3 check is actually the fourth most popular move in this position, and you should know it. I remember it was a long time ago, maybe 11 years ago, we were playing the Croatian team championship, and we helped our board 1 prepare for his match on board 1, and of course he knew that I don't know who he was playing against with the white pieces, maybe yeah, I think it was maybe FIDE Master and Lennart, or I could be wrong, but I think it was against him, and he was playing this with the white piece, and we prepared this funky line with bishop captures on c3, and he was well, he was really caught off guard with this bishop captures on c3 move, because you don't expect a player with the black pieces to just part with his strong bishop, with his dragon, and chances are you've never played against that. In the end, our board 1 lost the game, but he really had him struggling. He spent like he was down to a few minutes on the clock. Our board 1 had over an hour and a half, and then he just blundered terribly, as it usually happens. But okay, b captures on c3, and now pawn to e5. So you got rid of your dark square bishop, but now your opponent will have some problem developing his own light square bishop with all of his pawns on light squares. So bishop to d3, we have knight to d7, and now pawn to f4. And there is a game where e captures on f4 was played, but here we have queen to f6, and it is now as of move 8 that we have a completely new game. So how do you react to this? Of course, Levan wants to capture on f4 to put pressure on c3, so Bharatakoti just plays knight to e2, guards the c3 pawn, queen to h4 with check, and now g3. This does somewhat weaken white's kingside even further, but you know, for example, if you've played the King's Gambit, that this doesn't really offer black that much. Queen to e7, we have castles, and now pawn to h5. You've created a weakness, and now you want to hone in on that weakness and attack it. We have pawn to f5. You can already see it's move 12, but this is not a friendly game. This is already quite the battle. G captures on f5, e captures, and now pawn to f6. Usually a very dangerous move to play, but here you just close the position and say, okay, my king will remain here. I'm gonna weaken your center with b5, and then I'm gonna play h4 at some point and really put pressure on your king. And the engine really loves rook to e1 move here, but unless you're an engine, you don't play rook to e1. I try to understand what the engine wants with rook to e1. I just have no idea. Maybe rook e1 to e4 to maybe guard against pawn to h4 in the future, but other than that, it's really hard to understand the move. So here, king to h1 was played. It's a very nice human move, clearing the g1 square for the knight. The idea is, of course, knight g1 to f3, to h4, and then to g6 at some point, if, of course, you allow it. We have queen to g7, and now knight to g1, preparing the knight's journey. We have knight to e7 and now knight to f3, and here just queen to g4. It's a very annoying square for white to have the black queen on. Bishop back to e2. You can't just wait here. If you just wait here and do nothing, b5 is coming, and then white will just be under a whole lot of pressure. So here we have bishop to e2, now threatening all sorts of nasty discoveries, and you can't just ignore this. You have to play either move the queen to e4 or capture on f5. If you just continue with your plan, knight g4 traps the queen, and that's it. Black loses the game. So after bishop to e2, we have queen captures on f5. Levin accepts the challenge. Knight to g5 now, putting pressure on that black queen, and queen to g6. We have knight to e6, a beautiful square for the knight, but not attacking all that much. Okay, you will play a knight to c7 with check, but black is very happy giving up the inactive rook for the active knight, and also for a chance to attack white's king side. So knight to b6, and now we have bishop to d3. Here you might be thinking, okay, how do we continue here? As it's a classical game, I'm just going to show you a few fun lines. Let's say bishop captures on h5, if rook captures, queen captures, and now of course if queen captures, you're going to deliver knight to g6 and knight to g7 check and pick up the queen. So you're probably going to play bishop captures on e6, and now we will see queen captures on g6, knight captures, d captures on e6, and then king to e7, and you're going to pick up that e6 pawn with a fairly equal game. On the other hand, you could also consider knight to c7 check right away. Let's say king d8, knight captures on a8, knight captures, and now just bishop to d3 to be very annoying here. Or you could play what Harsha Barakatakoti played right away, and that is bishop to d3. And now, how do you react to this? Well, of course, you could move the queen, but where are you going to move the queen to? Queen to g4 does look like something, but okay, then you force a queen trade. Black really doesn't want to force a queen trade here. Black wants to keep the center closed and attack the white king. So you might consider something like pawn to f5, but then rook captures, not looking all that great. The only other move is pawn to e4, which is what the 11 played. Now comes knight to c7 check, king to d8, and knight captures on a8. And this is the critical moment of the game where you have so many options. You can already see that the knight can be captured, the bishop can be captured. What would you play in this position? It's such a tricky one. Feel free to pause the video and try to find a plan for black here. How would you proceed? While I give you a couple of seconds. So for those of you who were able to do it, congratulations on going against your basic urge to recapture. And for those of you who just want to enjoy the show, it is not knight captures on a8. It is not pawn captures on d3, although you can play that. It is actually pawn to h4. This is the strongest move for black. And the reason is, of course, how do you defend against pawn captures here? Well, one way to do it, and pretty much the only way to do it, is rook to f4. Now, how do you react to this? Well, point is that if h captures on g3 now, you're going to play bishop captures and attack the black queen here. But even though this isn't very impressive, rook captures on h2 with check, king to g1, and now how do you... Okay, your queen is still hanging. You can play something like bishop to f5, and now, okay, let's say even rook captures on f5, knight captures, and now rook to b1. You've survived the attack, but chances are you will get checkmated here. But you don't even play that. After rook to f4, there's even a nicer way to play, and that is e captures on d3. And now after knight captures on b6, you will play a captures on b6. You will even allow pawn to g4. It's sort of not a tactical way to crush white, but a positional way to crush white. And now you will prevent white from playing h3. You will play h3 yourself. And now you will go after that g4 pawn. If bishop to d2, you will just prepare it, rook to g8, and now whatever white plays, let's say queen to f1, you put some pressure here, it doesn't really matter. Bishop captures on g4, and rook captures on f6 is impossible now because queen to e4 with check, and you will get checkmated now very soon. You have to go to g1, and then you go under the mask of the rook, so of course that's not happening. So rook to e1 can be played, but now you just continue with queen to h5, and white is basically without a move, so just completely crushing white positionally. Even bishop to e2 might happen, so white will play something like rook to e3 to prevent bishop to e2, because then queen captures on h3 is possible. But now you just continue with your basic plan, which is to push the pawn to b5. that was your plan all along. And if rook captures on d3, you play b captures on c4. Now take away all the squares from the rook, and if rook to g3, now queen captures on d5 check, king g1 and f5, and that's it. Black is pretty much without a move. The bishop helpless, the rooks can't go anywhere. Also the queen, not a lot of squares for that queen. You can play the king to c7, get the rook to d8, push the pawn here. You could also get the knight into the game very nicely. Let's say knight g6 to e5 to d3. It will be a beautiful outpost for the knight. This is just dead loss for white. So you basically choose how you want to do it. But in the game, it wasn't played. E captures on d3 wasn't played, which is also very nice. In the game, knight captures on a8 was played, and this allows white back into the game. Bishop to e2. And now pawn to h4 just isn't as potent, because here you can play g4. And if h3, you can play bishop to f4 now already, with the threat of bishop captures on d6. And if king to c7, you can just play queen to c1, and you don't have to worry about anything. If rook to g8, trying to go after the g4 pawn, even queen to a3 now with threats of queen a7, or even queen captures on c5 as the d6 pawn is pinned, black is just getting destroyed here. So here bishop to h3 was played, attacking the rook, rook g1, and now knight to b6, but now we have bishop to f4, putting pressure on the pawn here. So f5 defending it with the queen, and now rook to b1, preparing to, well, basically the idea is just queen b3, and you play a4, a5, kick away the knight, and capture on b7. So king c7, trying to add some defenders there, but it doesn't help. Queen to b3, we have knight e to c8, and now pawn to a4. a5 will dislodge the knight, and then b7 just, sorry about that, b7 just hangs. Bishop to g4, and now bishop captures on g4. H captures, although it opens up the h file, isn't all that impressive, just a5. You're not in time to organize anything on the king side. So queen captures on g4 was played, maybe with some ideas of queen f3 check, but Harsha just shows that it doesn't really matter. a5. Now queen f3, okay, you could play this and maybe even attack the white king a little bit, but it blunder. I mean, doesn't blunder. It loses a piece, and you will not gain anything for your attack. Even just a nice king to g1 to prevent this from coming with a pin. And if h captures, you will play queen h5. There will be one check, but that's all there is. Queen a2 can be played. Now a nice check. King to f2. The queen is hanging. Once the queen goes back, you move the queen, offer a trade. You're up a piece, completely winning. So after a5, knight to d7 was played. Now comes queen captures on b7 with check. King to d8, and now rook b to f1. Stopping queen f3, we have pawn to e3, trying to get that pass pawn up the board, but now queen to b1. And now, okay, if you play e2, just rook to f2, and the pawn will fall. So after queen to b2, rook to e8 was played, but now just rook to e1. We have pawn to e2, rook to g2, and here one last trick. Queen to f3. Now, although you cannot move the g rook, you could play rook captures on e1, but rook captures on e2. But this would be a terrible blunder because of queen to f1 check. Rook now has to block, and then you capture the rook here. And now, of course, you are up a full piece and completely winning. But in the game, of course, king to g1 was played, and now queen to d3, and of course, rook g captures on e2. We have rook to g8, trying to create some sort of a tricky position here, but it doesn't work. Queen to b7, we have queen captures on c3, and bishop to g5 with check. Rook captures him, making it impossible due to rook to e8 checkmate. So knight to f6 was played, but now just queen to f7, and he was in this position on move 40 that Levan Pansalaya resigned the game, as there is nothing more to be done here. You have too many threats here. Whatever you play, you're just gonna get checkmated very quickly, and even if you just give one more check after king to h1, there are no more checks, and now you will have to, well, there's absolutely nothing you can do, like any move you play. It's hard to even imagine a move here. I mean, just bishop captures, check, now picks up the queen. So yeah, any move would really be pointless here for black. So really a brilliant victory for Harsha Baratakoti, but in this position, after knight captures on a8 was played, he did allow pawn to h4, but you've seen just how complicated it is, and you really have to study the position deeply in order to find all of the ideas that were possible here. But in the next game, Levan Pansalaya retaliated with the white pieces, creating an even faster win. He won in 31 moves, so they will have to settle it in tie breaks, and then we will see who will proceed to round 2 to face some of the other players who have won their encounter, and also some of the players will be paired with those in the top 50 who were seeded straight into round 2 of the FIDE World Cup 2023. So yeah, that's the game. Hope you guys enjoyed it. Once again, huge congratulations for not going after the knight or the bishop, and even considering pawn to h4. That truly, shows that you have what it takes to be a great player. I would like to thank all the Games Are Best, Len Herbert, Seth Harper, Schlurcher, and Paul Harris for your contribution to my channel. Thank you a lot, I really appreciate it. As usual, you can check 2 of my previous videos here. Thank you for watching, and I will see you soon, continuing the coverage of the FIDE World Cup until it finishes. So thank you all, I will see you soon, and have an excellent rest of your day.